Come on in, hit the thumbs up as you come in, please. Okay, so that's good. Hit that thumbs up. Got some stuff to share with you guys. Okay. All right, let's do this. Guys, coming in, hit the thumbs up. We got some stuff for you today. All right, let's do that. Didn't mean to do that. Okay, hold on, guys.
Shook me because you said that we could have, before ending the year much higher, that we could have what was the drawdown? You said I could have gotten to a 6 handle on the S&P based on the numbers you were talking about.
Yeah, something that'll feel like a bear market, 10% kind of drawdown.
That's what you thought. It was not a good month for July, and you said
Give you guys some time to filter in. It's not quite 2 o'clock just yet.
Not as positive.
Listen to some of what CNBC has to say about
the averages didn't do that.
what's going on in the economy.
The Dow went down 1250. Who knows what's going? That was an AI unwind for that hedge fund to explain it.
S&P 500 is doing pretty good this year so far. Yeah, I'll get the exact data for you in a minute. This is the day, but on the year, we're looking pretty good so far. The year is young. How much are we making out there? Come on in, hit the thumbs up. We'll get started at 2. Wanted everybody to be able to filter on in first. Hope everyone's weekend was good. Mine was. I'm dealing with something's going on with the transmission on my lawn tractor. I got to figure that out. My neighbor was kind enough to come and cut one part of my property. I really appreciate him doing that. Let's see. Year to date, the S&P is up almost 11%. Okay, that's pretty darn good. Optimally, of course, we'll take 11%. We're looking for 8 to 10. S&P 500 usually brings back between that, as an annualized average return. So hold on, guys. Come on in, hit the thumbs up.
Why?
Yeah.
Positive sentiment this month is going to be cooler inflation data. Why?
Yes.
Why? Oil's back up.
Yeah, oil's up, and we still have the tariffs working through, so those are hitting the CPI numbers, but the real driver of inflation historically has been housing and wages, and housing has really disinflated. We've had 3 months now of declining home prices, so you're taking out one of the biggest weights for inflation, and then I think wage inflation is really muted. I mean, we'll find out this Friday.
Hey, Tom, I just want to ask you what you think of the Leopold Aschenbrenner situation and the idea that he was highly leveraged 4 times, had to unwind this stuff. How much of that played into what you were just talking about?
All right. I do want to key in on something that guy said about home prices. Keep in mind that home prices are housing, residential real estate. We've been over this before on the channel. That's not a national market, okay? So he's speaking generally. But when you get down to brass tacks, if you've ever purchased or sold real estate, you know that real estate is really a hyper-local market. So you might see certain things go on, say, in California that are not going on in New Hampshire in terms of price, right? see here. You throw this up. Just still vamping here. Wait until everybody gets in and hits that thumbs up. We'll start off in a minute here. Over the what is this, year to date, or is this 1 year? This is 1 year. So yeah, we did have home prices overall take a little dip. Overall, they are headed back up. But when you talk about real estate, it's hyper local. Figuring out what's going on in your market is going to take you examining the comparable sales in a very tight area, a couple of square miles around your home. For most homes will do it. Okay. Who do we have in the house today? We've got LJ. LJ, I hope you're doing well. Everybody, go ahead and hit that thumbs up. I appreciate it. We are reviving the channel. The Soldiers of Finance channel is coming back. Tyronistan is being rebuilt. Okay. I, your benevolent leader, I left to conquer other lands in the form of an election, okay, and was soundly defeated. But no matter, I'm back in Tyronistan. Tyronistan has resumed its growth pattern. The uploaded videos are getting back to where they need to be, and our live streams are doing better and better. So I really appreciate all of you. LJ, thanks for the comment. LJ hit the comment section before we even started, which is always good. Helps the algorithm. January 2026 annual inflation was 2.4%. May, 4.2%. The highest since April of 2023. June, annual inflation cooled to 3.5%. As energy costs dropped 5.7% month over month. Understand also that I hate the way the media generally reports. Well, sometimes they report inflation without reminding people that it's on top of. Okay. So during the Biden administration, we all know why they would say inflation is down 3.5%. The rate of inflation is not accelerating as fast. You're not going to see prices come down 3.5% in the grocery store. So a little nuance there. Thanks, LJ, for that. LJ goes on to say, it looks to me like the volatility in the markets is directly tied to what we do in Iran. When we engage, inflation rises. When we back off, it declines. Yeah, that's a very astute observation. We're going to get more into that in a minute. Alex, how you doing? Remember, the left never complained about gas prices during 2022. True. Yeah. I had somebody, they were on this Facebook page I follow, and they were, here in Maryland, we've talked about the gas and electric prices being very high. And the person said, now, how do all you electric vehicle owners feel now that the gas and electric prices are going up? I bet you regret purchasing that EV. So somebody said, they said, do you regret purchasing your internal combustion engine car every time gas prices increase? And the person never responded to them. I think the point was proven. Deb, good to see you. Let's see who we got here. Oh, okay, Deb. When was your birthday? Happy belated birthday. For my birthday, my kids got me the whole series of Mad Men. Excellent. Now, it sounds like they got it on what? DVD, which is perfect. And I'm going to tell you why in a minute. Let me know. Did they put it on DVD? Did they get it on DVD? Rockhouse says, Soldiers of Finance. Your thumbnail pick, I presume you say, should go back to you wearing a crown. You think so? Okay. All right. Change things up. But that's we never changed it on the Facebook page. I could put it back. DVD. Okay, perfect. Guys, listen. If you want to go out there and enjoy some series that you love from back in the day, pre-2015, when everything got woke, make sure you buy physical media, okay? Because I've noticed that The BBC, when they broadcast original Star Trek, I don't watch it on the BBC, but when they do that, they change up some of the, and remember, Star Trek has been woke forever, since it started. But the BBC sees fit to even change up, like they take out where no man has gone before. Okay. They're super sensitive over there in the UK. So physical media, especially with a series like Mad Men, which is so well done and gives you the real flavor of what was going on in the 50s and 60s, they don't pull any punches. I can see some nitwit that owns that property saying, we got to take out this reference, that reference. So if you got it on DVD, you got it. They can't change anything. Okay. Alex says you should invite Ed Hale to do a show on Metro Conservative Media. Maybe Tuesday, you and Ed talk about economic policies concerning Maryland and the USA. We are doing the Hailstorm podcast. We're going to do one on Wednesday, and we are going to be back on Poppin' Politics. He's done that before, but he's going to do it again. In fact, I got to give a shout out to the ladies over at Poppin' Politics because they really were very supportive during the campaign, and they were out there trying to help us out big time. Deb says, today I bought 2 dictionaries from Goodwill from 80 and 90. Yeah. Physical media is where it's at. All right, guys. So look, what's going on out there in the world? LJ mentioned Iran. Okay. Now, the latest I've heard is we're back to peace treaty discussions. This is a war we've won now 245 times. Latest I've heard is we're back to a peace treaty, that we're going to talk about it at least. The afternoon is young, so we'll see how things develop. But look, throwing aside the politics of it, the world, planet Earth, the nations of the world, they're arming like nobody's business. Okay. Now, look, I know because I've covered the defense industry on the channel before. Some people don't like the defense industry as an investment option. Okay. They have a moral objection to it. If I would imagine if you are against war, you wouldn't invest in defense, right? The defense industry. My personal take is I am not a dove. I am not a pacifist. However, I do believe that war should be a last resort. Okay. How do I feel about what's going on in Iran? Personally, I feel that it could have been wrapped up a while ago. Okay. What's going on? That site must have a little bug in it. Let's try it again. Okay, we'll see if that happens again. I think this is the same site. I don't know. Anyway, war to me should be a last resort. Now, I'm not one of these guys that they give the United States a lot of hell for dropping the A-bomb on Japan. Well, it's easy to sit up here 75, 70, 80 years later and play Monday morning quarterback, right? I can assure you that if Germany developed it first, they would have definitely dropped it on New York City or DC, without a doubt. And this world would look a lot different than it does now, not for the better. So what's going on in Iran, the defense industry, one of the things about that industry is every time, you use something, you can't use it again, right? Cruise missile, right? You use it, it's done. There's no refurbishing. There's no recycling. And typically the customer base for companies like Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, Lockheed, BASF, all these companies their customer base consists of countries. And if you are an EU aligned country, then you've got one partner in play that has a pretty much an unlimited checkbook, the United States of America. Now, I know, and you know, I'm sensitive to the national debt. The reality is we do have the world's reserve currency for now. So that gives us some leeway and latitude, because we're undisciplined fiscally, to spend $1 trillion on defense. Now, we spend 8 times more than like the next 4 countries combined. Again, because we have the world's reserve currency. I think half of the UFOs that people are seeing, I think they're US technology that's not being disclosed. That's what I think. So we're going to spend $1 trillion straight up. The House actually, or was it the Senate? They approved 1.1 trillion. So I don't know when Fox printed this up. When was this? This is an old story. The other story I had was, yeah, because the new amount is higher. Let me see if I can go back to that other story. Yeah, here it is. Let's do this one. Yeah, this is the one that I got the bug on. Let's go back to it. Sorry, guys. Where is it? So we're going to spend 1.1 trillion. That will solve our problem where we're spending more on the debt service than we are on defense. Hey, here's what we'll do. We'll just increase defense spending. And that is deficit spending. Here we go. Okay, y'all should be able to see that now. All right, but we're not the only ones, right? And we're going to get to, I'm just building up to this notion that if you don't want to invest in defense, because of what's going on, because of the way we're spending this money, it is creating opportunities in sectors that are not connected to defense. All right. So for those who may have a moral objection, fine. You can still profit off of this while not investing in defense. Just profiting off of the fact that the conditions being created by this extreme amount of spending is going to have a positive impact. Well, let me say an inflationary impact in other sectors of the economy. Okay. Now, I changed that from positive to inflationary because, look, if you don't invest in something, then you're strictly exposed to the inflationary aspect of it, right? Without any return. But if you do invest in it, then you can offset, and then it becomes, more positive for you. All right. Let's see. Yes, LJ, this is a great point. There is a project, there's several projects afoot to shred old books. And when they put everything online, they will be able to rewrite history. Okay. Yes, just as you say, make sure you keep several copies of the Bible because they will not hesitate to rewrite that. All right. Alex says, I'm not happy with the war in Iran. However, this is not something we saw under Obama and Bush. It was worse back then. The objective of this conflict to get rid of their ability to build a nuke, I stand behind that objective 110%. In fact, I don't even want to talk peace to them. That's why this, every 72-hour thing, it's like, We've been through this, right? These guys are recalcitrant as hell. They've also demonstrated clearly to the world that if they have weapons, they will reach out and they will bomb non-combatants, their own neighbors, right? Their own neighbors, their own Islamic neighbors. They started bombing when the U.S. came over there. Then remember when they had a weapon and they sent it and it almost hit U.S. base in Diego Garcia? Now, if it was able to get down there, it's almost able to get to London. It's got to cross a lot of Europe to get to London. So I'm all for I'm all for the objective. I'm just, something else must be going on that we are not privy to, because it's frustrating. Every time you see a headline that says, oh, they're going to talk now. At this point, it's the boy who cried wolf. I don't even buy it. I'm like, we're going to be bombing them again. And then the question is this: how deep is their bench? You know, because if this level of decapitation had been prosecuted over here, hell, we'd be down to the Secretary of Agriculture by now, right? So it's just interesting. I'm with the objective, because look, if they have their way developing an ICBM, and they've got that technology, put a nuke on top of that they can reach the mainland United States with, they would not hesitate. They would not hesitate. Okay. So take them out. They come talking about it seems to me like every time they come talking about they want to talk, it's just they need to recover, and regroup. No, we don't want to talk anymore. Tell you what, we're going to do this for the next 6 months. And then if you want to talk in 6 months, then hey, if there are any phones left, try to give us a ring. LJ says the Department of War is the only department to never pass an audit. Very true. Trillions have gone into some black hole. I could do a whole show on that. Yeah. And I think that some of that has gone into projects that they don't tell us about. And I think, hey, I think some of it has gone into the pockets of some unscrupulous folk. Okay. So I definitely like the fact that we've taken it to them. Okay. Especially after, you remember Obama allowed the Navy personnel to be captured and he did not do anything about it. He gave them money actually after that. So yeah, cool. Just smash them. Smash them once and for all. Smash them to the point where the IRGC is totally destroyed. The resistance can then take control and change the regime. Because remember, we're still negotiating with the same folk that are remnants of the regime that existed before we went in there. Okay. So if Trump came out tomorrow and said, hey, look, they went back on their word again. So now we're just going to straight bomb them for the next 6 months until it's clear that they don't have the program anymore. I would be okay with that. I would be okay with that. This is a tough world, and I don't want to wake up one morning with an air raid signal going off and an Iranian ICBM headed toward Washington, D.C., because I live 50 miles north of Washington, D.C. Yes, that is very true. The regime over there also, it gets, I don't want to get down in the weeds with this, with what they believe their role is in being a catalyst for the apocalypse and enabling end of world type thing. They have a belief system inside the regime that gives them the role of orchestrating the beginning of the apocalypse. Let's see. Yeah, Jackson and Jackson. I have two pretty good stuff. All right, so and that's Kung Fu CJ, guys, our resident fellow Tyronistanian. Let's get some other news here along these lines because I'm going to get to telling you guys about what else you can invest in if you don't want to do the military. But China, India, Russia, they're all increasing their military budgets as well. The EU also. All right. Hold on, guys. All right, let's try this again. Oh, we got some sponsors too, guys. I want to talk to you about that. I told you the channel is growing. All right, let's try this. There we go.
China will expand its defense budget by 7% this year. That's the slowest rate of increase since 2021. But analysts say it's unlikely to affect a drive to modernize the military in China. CNA's Deborah Wong with this report.
China's latest military hardware was on full display last year in a massive parade that marked the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. The progress made hailed by China's number 2 ranking official as he delivered the government work report to the country's top legislature.
过去1年，国防和军队现代化建设取得新的成就。
All right. I don't know about you guys, but I don't speak Mandarin. But he's just going to go on to outline that they will engage in military spending. Now, China, they can't just they don't have a black card, okay? They don't have the world's reserve currency. But even so, they are saying that they are continuing to spend to make these increases at greater than 5%, okay? So when your adversary spends, you spend. So it's a cycle, right? China spends more, the EU spends more. The EU spends more, Russia spends more. Russia spends more, the United States spends more. And these costs create revenue, and if these companies are, these defense contractors are managed properly, then that revenue, of course, creates profits. All right, so hold on. Now let's take a look at, all right, this is the House, I believe. Yeah, this is the House passing their $1.15 trillion Pentagon bill.
The yeas are 216, the nays are 212. The bill is passed. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table. The yeas and nays have been requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device.
All right, so the rest is, let's look at the actual totals here. All right, so yay 216 votes, nay 212 votes. And understand, when you're dealing with Congress, understand this. They're pretty aware of how these votes are going to flesh out prior to the vote actually being taken. Okay, now there's a lot that goes into this. Some people, the Democrats, for example, may say, look, we have, take Maryland, for example. We got 8 congressional members, 7 of whom are Democrat. All right. So Maryland is a state that benefits from a lot of defense spending. However, you may not want to be seen as going along with Trump, right? So there's a little horse trading that goes back and forth. They'll say, look, we need this to pass. We all know that. Even though you're a Democrat from Maryland, you want it to pass because this means jobs in your district. Yes. So, okay, we're going to let you slide on this one. Go ahead and vote no. That way, when you go to your community meeting, you can say you stuck it to Trump because you live in Baltimore City with a whole bunch of people that may not be too fond of the military per se, or definitely aren't fond of Trump. So you can say that you voted no. Now we're going to need you on something else later on down the road. Okay, fine. We got what we need. And so that's what happens usually in these cases. Very few votes are taken in the House or the Senate where they don't know the outcome of it before the vote is cast. All right, let's take a look at. Oh, wow. All right. Real quick, let's just take a look at India. Okay.
From global headlines to entertainment buzz, I'm Kashish Dhawan bringing you the latest around the world. For India, defense is not just an expense. It's a strategy. It's deterrence. It's power. And today, the Union Budget 26-27 has changed the script. The total defense allocation has been raised to approximately 7.8 lakh crores from 6.81 lakh crores last year, a 15% increase of this. 2.1 lakh crores is earmarked for capital expenditure aimed at modernizing the armed forces and acquiring advanced military hardware. What makes this increase particularly noteworthy is its timing. This is the first full defense budget after last year's clashes with Pakistan during the Op Sindoor in May 2025. Those confrontations along the western border reshaped India's strategic priorities and highlighted the need for stronger deterrence and high-tech capabilities.
Okay, so we got India. Now, who's India's major adversary? Is Pakistan, right? So they are always on the lookout for, conflict with them. She mentioned lakh crores, which is an Indian unit of currency. 7.1 lakh crores would be $74 billion. Now, India is closely aligned with the United States on some defense equipment. They buy a lot from Russia as well. All right. And let's see here. Finally, let's take a look at Germany. Germany's out there saying, hey, look, you guys, France, and the rest of you in the European Union, it's time to start spending some money on defense. Now, we really can't benefit tremendously from the defense industry in China because of we're enemies, martially speaking, adversaries. But the EU, India, they do benefit tremendously from our military technology, and they are purchasers of it.
The Germany's foreign minister has urged France to boost its defense spending to make European self-sufficiency in defense a reality. The European countries are facing pressure to enhance their defense capabilities as anxiety increases about whether Washington would use its military might to come to the aid of its NATO partners in the event of an attack. The Germany's foreign minister, Johann von.
All right, now this is very important because a lot of people are giving Trump a lot of Europeans are giving Trump a lot of hell for making it kind of ambiguous as to whether or not we come to the aid of Europe. in the event they get themselves into trouble again. Okay. Because that is what has happened. If you look at the amount of wars that have been initiated on planet Earth, there's like a heat map that shows you Europe is by far, they're in the lead by far. So look, if what we've seen from Europe, what we've seen in the last, 120 years continues to hold true, and they get themselves into trouble again, and need bailout from us, quite frankly, they are like, is this going to happen? Is the United States kind of rethinking their position as world police? And we should, because first of all, we got to ask ourselves, does Europe even align with our values anymore? You've got look at what's going on in the UK. They damn sure don't align with our free speech values at all. Other parts of Europe don't as well. So that being world police is very expensive, and we've seen that we have these arrangements like NATO where we carry the freight. All right, and they sit back and brag about their very generous welfare states, and the United States should offer universal health care like we do. Well, it's because we've been protecting your butt for the past 80 years. All right. I'm a big proponent of taking Ramstein Air Force Base and just saying, no, we're not doing this anymore. If you guys create another situation, then we'll look at it and see if it's in our interest to come over, but not necessarily, right? Yeah, you need to build up your own defense industry. And by the way, that will help our defense contractors and their investors here in America. All right, so look, the investing in defense is clear. If you are so inclined and don't have any qualms with that morally, then Raytheon, let me take a look at Raytheon stock, because they were killing it. And one thing about Raytheon is that they are usually so let's say Northrop Grumman, Lockheed, let's say they get into a contract where they're trying to bid for some project that the U.S. wants, right? Raytheon's going to be a winner anyway, because they're going to wind up being a subcontractor. There's so few companies that can do the kind of work they do. Raytheon is in the components of a lot of stuff when it comes to military hardware. This is not an endorsement or recommendation to purchase Raytheon stock. It's just the reality of what goes on. All right, so you can see here in the past 5 years, Raytheon has returned 147%. All right, we talked about 8 to 10% annualized, okay? Average 147% is what Raytheon has done. That speaks for itself. The S&P 500 Aerospace and Defense Index, in the past year, it's returned 19%. Apples to apples, 5 years, over 108%. All right, so the case is made with direct investment into the defense sector because the world is dangerous and unfortunately seems to be becoming more so. It was less dangerous when we had a Cold War, when we just had the Warsaw Pact versus NATO. Now we've got, at least half a dozen really prime actors out there. Okay. So it's a dangerous world. People pray for peace. Sure, I would like to see that too, but that's not going to happen on this side of the Jordan. Okay. That's reserved for our eternal selves, in my opinion. All right. So what do you do? What do you do if you don't want to invest directly in defense, or if you want to take the approach that I want to get an additional benefit from this situation? Well, I will tell you right after we hear a word from our latest sponsor. Yes, we have a sponsor, ladies and gentlemen. That sponsor is the Baltimore Blast indoor soccer team. It is an affordable method of entertainment, family friendly. Okay, how often do you get those two together these days? Okay. Our technology is failing us. Never fear. The Baltimore Blast, of course, they play here in Baltimore primarily, but the whole indoor soccer thing is a lot of fun for the entire family. Uh, if you're in the Baltimore area, I would check them out. Very affordable. They play in the Towson Arena. Let's try it again. Let's try our ad one more time with sound this time. Okay. Let's see where. There we go. Okay.
If you are looking for the best indoor soccer experience, it doesn't get better than the Baltimore Blast. Right here in Towson Arena.
Okay. Okay. So there's our first. I told you Tyronistan was coming back stronger than ever. There's our first ad from the Baltimore Blast. We thank them for that. Did you guys? You should have been able to hear it that time, right? Not. Okay. Good. Good. Okay. Thank you. All right. So if you don't want to invest directly in defense, or if you want to, and then invest in something else that's going to benefit from inflation, because remember, in the United States, defense spending is inflationary. All right. Government, this is direct spending from the federal government. What are those things that benefit from inflation? Well, we all know gold has that inverse relationship, okay, with the interest rates. But when we see inflation rise, we see gold go up to match it so that you can preserve your purchasing power. That's one thing. We always talk about gold, right? So I think that most people have developed at this point, intuitively they know that gold is going to do it, right? If they need to set up a hedge for inflation. But now the issue with gold has been that while it is a great hedge for inflation and has done that job to a fare thee well for 2,000 years at least, gold does not pay an income. Gold does not offer any tax related benefits. I won't say any. There are some in terms of purchase and sale. Maryland, and let me show you what I'm talking about. So the geniuses in our General Assembly, they passed a bill last year, right, that taxed the sale of gold and the purchase. Now, here's the problem with that. Gold is like gold you get from the U.S. Mint or even the Canadian Mint or the Royal Mint over in the UK, that's legal tender. Now, sure, they might stamp $10 on a US 1 ounce gold eagle. You would never spend it as legal tender because the intrinsic value far outweighs the monetary value. But nonetheless, you can't tax legal tender. Like it's a financial transaction. Okay. So it got quashed, but they tried it. So there's a minuscule tax benefit there, but nothing as large as the tax benefits that you see on real estate. Real estate benefits from inflation. Okay. Now, mind you, again, we're dealing with a hyper local market in terms of real estate. We're also dealing with other variables in terms of upkeep, utility. What do I mean by utility? Well, yeah, sure, your home's going to appreciate in value, but there's only so much you can do with that because you live in your home, right? So sure, your home's value might have gone up by $500,000 in the last 10 years. Great. You can exercise some equity if you choose, but at the end of the day, you need a structure to live in. So it's not like you can enjoy all of that, right? And then that mortgage money, this is a hell of a benefit when it comes to real estate. Leverage. I can control $200,000 worth of real estate. I can get the tax benefits. I can derive income from it. I can do all those things for 10% down. That's incredible leverage. So real estate generally increases in value with inflation, just the value of the property. All things being equal now. Of course, I can't have a house on Greenmount and North Avenue. For those of you who are from Baltimore, familiar with Baltimore, Greenmount and North Avenue, you wouldn't want a house there, okay? So I got a house on Greenmount and North Avenue. It's falling apart, and corner boys stand outside selling drugs all day long. That house is not going to do anything for me financially, right? I'm probably not even going to be able to sell it. So all things being equal, you got a nice property in a desirable area. Maybe you get some renters in there. So now you're getting the tax benefits, you're getting appreciation, you're getting depreciation, and you're getting income. Now, this income also benefits from inflation because every rental situation I've ever been in, what had to happen? Well, you had to be exposed to that annual rent increase, right? Now, let me say this about rent, becoming a renter, okay? A landlord, rather. You got to be very, very careful about what area you choose to set up that arrangement in. We got 8 likes and 12 people in. Please, 4 of you, please hit the thumbs up. Helps us out with the algorithm tremendously as we try to rebuild Tyronistan. I would not purchase rental property in New York City. Wouldn't do it. Too much headache. Yeah, sure. You get exposed to millions of potential renters. Yeah, you do. Great. But at the same time, you get exposed to a lot of red tape. They're going through this experiment with socialism where they don't like private property ownership at all. Okay. Screw that. There are plenty of other places where I can set up that arrangement. So if you know someone or if you're thinking about renting out a property, be careful. Be careful where you set that arrangement up. Seattle, wouldn't want to do it there. LA, no thanks. No, I don't care that you have millions of people. Good for you. So real estate is going to definitely continue to be a beneficiary of, thanks for the hype too. I don't really understand the hype, but do it. Okay, it doesn't hurt. Real estate is definitely going to continue to be a beneficiary as we continue to spend Okay, let's check the national debt today and see what we're doing there. Let's see, here we go. Okay, let me show you this national debt clock. All right, so 39.8 trillion, this says 40 trillion bucks, okay? I don't know. Well, that's still moving pretty darn fast. Debt to GDP ratio is 123%. So that means that if the United States was an entity that made $100,000 a year, it's spending $123,000 a year. Unsustainable. Okay. Absolutely unsustainable. But that's what we're doing. Now, guys, it's time for our second ad of the day. Let's see. Real quick, before we jump back into the video, if you're looking at today's economy and you're realizing that old budgeting playbooks just aren't cutting it anymore, you need to hear this. So trying to earn your way out of rising cost takes time. But defending the cash you already make is an instant and 100% tax-free process. That's why over at Health Wealth Link, we've launched the weekly economic survival briefing. Every week, we drop a short, high-impact breakdown on cash flow defense, AI automation, and building resilient wealth. Week 1 is live right now, featuring our zero-based overhead audit, including the exact 15-minute negotiation script to immediately lower your monthly bills. It's completely free. So head over to healthwealthlink.com/join or click the first link in the description of this video below and grab week 1 right now. Back to our video. Okay, so there we have it. You guys, I put that link in the chat, healthwealthlink.com/join. That link will, there's no cost to this. It's just a tip, a really impactful financial tip that we're putting out every week. Some of the stuff comes with worksheets too. Like week 2, we're going to publish that tomorrow. That comes with a worksheet that you'll have access to. This is designed to just give you a powerful, very impactful, actionable tip on a weekly basis to help us better navigate this new economy. We can't lay down and just say, oh man, AI and all this stuff is happening and war. And no, we got to roll with the punches, right? Because we still got things we want to do in this life and we can do it. We just got to be able to adapt, improvise, and overcome. So healthwealthlink.com/join, JOIN, and you can get access to that weekly tip. Okay. All right, guys, look, let me look at some of these comments real quick. Let's see. Alex says, I heard the Wisconsin governor's race may turn red. My question is, will this hold up or will it be like Virginia where you have a Republican for 4 years, then all of a sudden you have a Democrat? Guys, I'm going to say something here, and y'all might not agree with me, but y'all tell me how you feel. And we can discuss this in subsequent lives. Based on history, the vote is an economic tool. Okay, you go back to the writings of the founding fathers, and that's clear, right? I am not confident in the vote. And now I'm not. People gonna say, "Well, you're just saying that because you lost an election." No. I'm looking around the United States, and I just don't know. Okay, and here's the real thing that has me concerned. When I first started voting in Maryland, they had a little lever thing. You pull a lever for your guy or girl. That little lever thing was mechanical. And as long as they had that, we knew what was what by at the latest 10 p.m. Then they switched to computers. Now, computers have made every process more efficient, every process faster, except voting. I think we would be right to be concerned about that. Everything is quicker, more efficient with the computer, except voting. Okay. LJ says Wisconsin is considered to be a purple state at the federal and state levels with a uniquely competitive track record. Presidential races decided by less than a point in 2016, 2020, and 2024. Alex, look. Isn't it interesting to see the history of the Western March of Islam back in the day, okay? And then you had the Crusaders react to that, and you had people come out of that like Vlad Tepes, who Bram Stoker took his a lot of the information from that whole thing and made the Legend of Count Dracula. Isn't it interesting to see how you saw what happened in Spain this weekend, right? Isn't it interesting to see how all of that is like it never even happened? It's like Europe is rolling over. And look, I'm going to say this, culturally speaking, I don't understand how the left squares the circle, because the strict interpretation of Islam is not friendly to homosexuality, and it is not conducive with women's rights. But again, the left, they don't understand cause and effect. They don't see, the left plays checkers a lot of times in terms of their global worldview. They can't connect dots, and they don't want to go back in history and admit hard truths to themselves. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I hear Ramstein is like a city. It's like a city, an American city in Germany. Don't forget, MASL is coming to Lehigh Valley. Okay. Okay. All right. So Deb says, Ty, you're looking good and healthy. The best for you and your wife. Thank you so much, Deb. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Yeah, so the elections, we got to do, I don't know, man. That whole thing in 2000, my wife and I, we were in a hotel. We were at this business conference, right? And we fell asleep watching the election. I'm like, this is strange. I've never experienced not knowing who the president was, at midnight, right? And then we woke up and that whole thing, the hanging chads and everything. And I'm like, it's not good. That's not good. Let's see. Rockhouse says, I know you are a fan of the Stargate series. Yes, indeed. As am I. YouTube movies and TV now has all 5 seasons of Stargate Atlantis. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I love all of Stargate. Let me amend that. They did have this movie come out on Amazon. It was pure trash. Did you ever see the movie Origins, where the lady who found the Stargate? It was just trash, and I'd rather not speak of it. But everything else, Stargate, is right up there with me. And you know what? This might throw you for a loop, Rockhouse. My favorite Stargate is Stargate Universe, the last series that they had. I love that. Anyway, guys and dolls, that is all I have for you today. Definitely, if you are so inclined, go to healthwealthlink.com/join. Get that financial tip. And we have some videos on the channel right now. Let me tell you what we got on the channel. Give you a little preview of what's going on out there. We got a video. You guys know about this guy, Andrew Tate, and his brother, Christian. Is it Christian Tate? I think it is. I'm not followers of those guys. So I couldn't be sure. But in any event, they dared the British government to come and get them. And so the British government said, okay, we'll come and get you. And they have been arrested. And I just produced a video. It's weird. I just produced a video about a few days ago about where they screwed up. They screwed up in multiple places, but challenging a government to come get you, not smart, among other things. So we got that out there on the channel. Bill Cosby, the cause. You guys seen this video that we put out there about he's missing. He's running away from the $60 million judgment. No one can find Bill. And we do a cautionary tale video on that and show you how, there are ways to protect your assets. Now, what Bill did, unconscionable. Just absolutely despicable. But if someone slips and falls on your property, you don't want to be in a position where you lose your 401k, right? Because we can't run. We don't have multiple homes around the world. At least I don't. That you could run to, like, say, Bill Cosby might be able to. All right. So check that stuff out, guys. And I will be back at you on tomorrow. Let's talk about that tomorrow, LJ, the Texas Stock Exchange. Yeah, because I think they're going to, in 10 years from now, we're going to watch New York stock. We're going to watch that whole New York financial thing wane. You can't have the capital of capitalism in a socialist city. You can't have that. Okie doke. All right, guys. I will talk to you all soon. Have a good afternoon.